Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max seem to have a finalized design, iOS 18 is getting some more features, and Apple Watch 10 is supposed to have a big redesign. We'll talk about that and more in this week's weekly Apple News Update for the week of January 8th, 2024. In 2020, Apple actually settled a lawsuit for the BatteryGate issue where Apple was accused of throttling iPhones when the battery could no longer provide power. They confirmed that they did this but didn't communicate it very well. Replacing the battery goes back to full speed. But either way, the lawsuit began in 2017 and took up until now for Apple to start paying out up to $500 million to individuals who actually submitted a claim. Michael Burkhardt on Twitter showed he received some money from the claim, and payments have started going out for others as well, around $90 for each claim. The affected devices are the iPhone 6, 6 Plus that I have here, 6S, 6S Plus, iPhone SE, iPhone 7, and 7 Plus as well, and it depended on the version you were running, such as iOS 10.2.1 or later, and on the 7 and 7 Plus, iOS 11.2 or later, all before December 21st, 2017. If it had that and you filed the claim, you were eligible for it and should start seeing those payments now if you haven't already. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if you've actually seen that yourself. I personally didn't file any of those claims, though. The U.S. government is looking like it might be bringing a very large antitrust suit against Apple in 2024, according to the New York Times. This will cover issues such as how Apple locks down iMessage on the App Store, and that was brought more into the light after Apple started blocking Beeper Mini on Android from using iMessage. Also things to go along with app tracking transparency, third-party app stores, and much more. So we could see Apple be forced to open that up in the United States now, just like they're probably going to have to in the European Union. And Tim Cook is also set to meet with the EU antitrust chief this week to discuss disagreements with regulations and mobile payments with NFC, as well as those third-party app stores we expect Apple to have to actually open up. The head of Google, Sundar Pichai, is also set to meet with the EU over similar concerns, so it looks like this may be going forward, and Apple will actually have to start opening that up probably around March. So we could see that sometime around then, but only in the European Union, according to Mark Gurman. Now, this week, Apple Arcade has some new games in it, and there's some others releasing in February as well. Apple announced this on January 4th, and you'll see here they have a release of Tamagotchi Adventure Kingdom, Corn Sweeper, and Blackjack, as well as Mobility Wear Plus and 20 Plus content updates. Also, fun new games soon, such as Beast Bio Exo Arena Suit Team and others. So these are all launching soon, or they have already, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and much more. So I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out and see the press release, but there's a lot of different games they're releasing if you have Apple Arcade. Also, Apple is updating Apple Fitness Plus starting today. On January 8th, Apple's adding up to 10 new workouts with music by Rihanna, last year's Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show headliner, and much more. And then every Monday from now until into the first week of February, we'll have new artist spotlights. We'll also have additions with things such as sound meditations for relaxation, strength core and yoga for golfers, as well as turn up the volume and additions to time to walk. So again, I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out yourself. Now, I did want to mention a couple deals this week, as there's one very good deal if you use AirPods. If you're looking to buy AirPods Pro 2nd generation, these are down to $189.99 sold directly by Apple on Amazon. So be sure to check those out if you've been wanting to pick them up. Also, iPad 10th Gen is down to $349, and there's a few other deals as well. I'll link those in the description if you want to check them out for yourself. Now, this past week, we had iOS 17.3 Beta 2, and then Apple pulled it as there were some problems bricking iPhones this past week. So instead of releasing it to public beta testers, they pulled it all together, and if you were lucky to install it, it's working fine, but if not, you'll have to wait for a re-release. I'm surprised we don't already have one. Typically, they give it a day or two, but we may move right into beta 3 or a release candidate. If we do have that, we'll have it probably anywhere between Monday or Wednesday, with a re-release coming out and probably a new build number as well. We did not see a re-release or them pulling any of the other betas, such as those for Apple Watch, Apple TV, HomePod, or others, but I would expect that re-release or some sort of release this week. Also, I would expect the public release probably sometime at the end of the month. Typically, that's what we see with iOS 16.3, iOS 15.3, those typically release at the end of January or sometime in early February. So based on what we've had in the previous updates, that's what I would expect. We could see an iOS 17.2.2 also, as Apple stopped signing iOS 17.2, leaving only iOS 17.2.1 to downgrade to or restore to if you're on the beta or you just need to restore. So all of those things are what's going on now. We'll probably see an update very soon. Now, as far as iOS 18, a recent leak by a reliable leaker on the Naver blog has said that Apple will announce a new version of Siri that utilizes generative AI during WWDC 2024 and will go along with iOS 18. Apple's working to integrate the new AI features throughout iOS with possible shortcut updates and allow third-party access to APIs. But according to Mark Gurman in his Power On newsletter this week, the new Siri AI will feature things such as summarize and autocomplete to its core apps and productive software such as Pages and Keynote. It will also work to merge it into different services such as Apple Music and much more. So Apple's working on that, as well as new versions of Xcode to help developers implement AI into their code altogether. All of those features may not be ready until 2025 though, so maybe some of the initial rollout will happen with iOS 18, but we may not see the full rollout until 2025. As far as iPhone 16, there's new renders this week from Mac Rumors showing what is expected to be the design of the iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max. While Mac Rumors does say the designs are not completely finalized, they do represent what is expected to be a very minor upgrade this year. We expect a few different things, such as a 6.3-inch and 6.9-inch display upgrade, so 6.1 to 6.3, 6.7 to 6.9, as well as a change to the buttons. Both of them will retain the action button, but instead below the volume buttons will now have the millimeter wave antenna. On the side with the millimeter wave antenna, at least in the United States, that will be replaced to the other side and instead have what's called a capture button. The capture button will be a capacitive button that has haptic feedback and allows you to take photos and videos with it. Why you need that specifically, I'm not sure, but they must have some other plan for it. So we'll have that. And then also the ultra-wide camera is expected to get an update to 48 megapixels this year, according to Ming-Chi Kuo. It would allow for 4K spatial video possibly for the Apple Vision Pro headset. Also, Mark Gurman hints that we could see even brighter displays this year. Since we won't have a huge upgrade, the designs look mostly the same, but we could get some larger displays that way. As far as iPhone 17, we're already hearing some news on that from Ming-Chi Kuo, where he says Apple may be looking to upgrade the forward-facing camera from 12 megapixels to 24 megapixels. So that seems likely. It seems due for that. We had 5 megapixels for a long time. We got an upgrade, and this is kind of what we had. We've had 12 megapixels, and then they added autofocus, and that's about it. So being updated a little bit more would be very nice. Now, as far as Apple Watch 10 or Apple Watch X or whatever you want to call it, it's expected to look very similar to what we have with the Apple Watch Ultra. So it would look like this with a very flush mounted design where we have sort of a raised ridge around the outside edge, but instead be aluminum or stainless steel instead of titanium. Everything else would be very similar, but we could have possibly a similar chip to what we have now, updated bands that would be more magnetic instead of sort of locking into place like this. Maybe they'll twist and be magnetic or something else, but they won't retain the use of your current bands, unfortunately. Also, we could see possible updates to sleep tracking sleep apnea as well as some blood pressure, where it wouldn't be able to monitor blood pressure specifically, but could measure when it goes up a little bit, similar to what it does with the temperature monitor. We could get some surprises with the overall sensors, or maybe something different since Apple is facing that lawsuit, which could remove these from the shelf again. So based on how Apple works that out, we could see them change the sensor quite a bit this year, but we'll have to wait and see with that. In 2023, Apple updated the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M3 Pro and M3 Max processors. Not really much else has changed other than a new color that we have here, but otherwise it's a pretty great update, and this year we could see an update to the Mac Studio with the M3 as well as the Mac Pro as well to launch sometime in mid-2024, maybe around WWDC, since that's for developers. We could also see an update to the MacBook Air to M3 as well. Also, Apple is expected to update their iPad lineup. So the iPad lineup is expected to get OLED displays this year and possibly be revamped for all of them, from the regular iPad all the way up to the iPad Pro, with a new truly second generation or even third generation Apple Pencil, as well as an updated Magic Keyboard. All of those are expected, but the thing that's expected very soon is Apple Vision Pro. In fact, recently Mark Gurman has said that we could expect as soon as this week for Apple to announce when to expect it to release to the public. So they could announce maybe the launch date, maybe something else, but we should see some sort of announcement this week during CES. Also on January 21st, Apple will actually have a 3-hour meeting to help either train or explain to employees the sale of the Apple Vision Pro. So we're getting very close to a launch for that, and we can expect that very, very soon. That will probably coincide with the launch of maybe updates with Vision OS, different launches of iOS, and much more. So lots to look forward to. It looks like it's going to be a pretty busy year as far as hardware and software, and not huge updates to the iPhone 16 though. We also do expect some sort of update to AirPods 3, to a 4th generation that's less expensive, that looks similar to what we have now, but a combination between the AirPods 3 and AirPods Pro. We can see AirPods Max 2 at least launch this year finally, as well as an AirPods Pro 2 either late this year or early next year. So all of those things are expected then, but lots going on this year. I'm pretty excited to see what we have with all of the new products, but mostly with iOS 18. Apple Vision Pro is one of those things I'll have to wait and see, but let me know what you think of all of those things and what you're looking most forward to in the comments below. I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.